Get ready for the world's greatest Arsenal podcast. Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons. I'm your host Fergus. I'm joined today by Old Man Trev, Mem and Big T. We're going to look back at the North London derby. They do get battered everywhere they go. We will talk about that. And we'll look ahead to the game against Brighton, which is the 5:30 kickoff on Saturday. We do hope you enjoyed the show, but remember, we've named it this for a reason. Boys, how are we?
Good.
How are we doing? Trev?
Oh, good.
I can't talk because this smile's stuck on my bloody face, isn't it? Been on there that long. Oh, my lordy. What a week it's been, boys, eh? What a wonderful week for an Arsenal fan.
A fantastic...
not just the result, everything about the game, the performance, the players, the crowd, the manager, everything. Beautiful. What a beautiful day to be in Arsenal.
How we doing?
Mem, how are you? You're right. You're smiling too, I can see.
Yeah, it was a good day. It was a good day. So, yeah, let's hope it keeps going that way, yeah? Funny how things change so quickly in football. Not 3 weeks ago, everyone was calling for his head, weren't they? Funny
this
that.
is true.
Not everyone, Mem. Not everyone.
Quite a few people.
There were sections, Tony. There were sections that were calling for his head. We will discuss that and much more. How are you keeping? You're going to have to hold that microphone above the four chins, otherwise we don't hear you.
Good evening, gents. Good evening. What a brilliant week it's been to be an Arsenal fan, as you boys have alluded to. It was great Sunday, and to top it all off as well, the women go out and win 5-0 as well. So we should mention those. So Sunday was a brilliant day to be an Arsenal fan. All in all,
he was indeed. Listen, in and around the stadium, as myself and Trevor both spent a little time care at the NHS, we were being very, very, very careful over the weekend. Had a couple of beers before the game in the stadium, but that was it. It was really, really downplayed than we normally do. But driving down to the stadium, as I hit Blackstock Road and all around the area, I'd parked my car up near the old girl at the East Stand. And you could just hear everywhere. There was people singing, there was people celebrating, and really there was a real atmosphere. Which, look, I've been to loads of games at the Emirates and some at Highbury, but I don't remember an atmosphere and a build-up like that. Trev, being sober for once, what did you think of the build-up and the atmosphere leading up to before even getting into the stadium? You went to Supporters Club, didn't you?
Yeah, it has been. I mean, that atmosphere, that's an Arsenal atmosphere, but we've not had it for a long time, Ferguson. And you're right, mate. You could sense a change in people's feelings. I know it was North London Derby Day, so that's an instant raise of volume and level of support. But as I went down Blackstock Road and popped in a couple of pubs, and they were already loud. A long time before the game, the pubs were loud. And then when we got up, me and Terry and little Tony, we got up to the ground. We were there hour and a half before kickoff or more. And it was busy and it was packed already in there. Whether that's because they've got this 2-for-1 pints offer, whether it's just that the fans were up for it because it's Tottenham and Arsenal. But to be honest, I don't care, mate. It was what we've missed. And from the very start of the day till a couple of hours after the game, the supporters... Amazing. Great voice. And I saw someone say this week, could it be to do with the fact that a lot of the Arsenal season ticket holders have taken a sabbatical this year? So there's lots of different people getting into the ground. Who knows? There could be a million different reasons, but I don't care. It was great support. It was what our team needed. And we undoubtedly, well, as Saka and Smith-Rowe said afterwards, boys, we undoubtedly lifted them, didn't we? The roof, the ground was shifting all day. It was a pleasure being an Arsenal fan. It was wonderful.
Big T, you were in one of the local pubs. Where were you? Were you in the Tully, I think, beforehand? How was it there?
No,
And
I was in the 12 pins, mate, with obviously the group of boys that I go with. Yeah, it was brilliant. The atmosphere was brilliant, and Trev's already alluded to how good the day was, atmosphere-wise. But I must say, and I've said it for probably all season, I've said it in all the WhatsApp groups, on Twitter, I think our support this season's been unreal. I think it's the best it's been for a long time, even with the 3 games that we lost. I thought that the fans have still been behind the team. Okay, they've said stuff in WhatsApp groups, they've said stuff on Twitter, but the support inside the stadium from match-going fans has been brilliant. You know, going in at half-time with Norwich 0-0, it could have been a completely different kettle of fish. There was probably a very, very small percentage that booed. But on the whole, the team have backed and supported, and like we've spoke about, you know, last season, pre-season, etc. We've got to play our part this season, and right now, right here, right now, we are playing our part. And the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks has been a pleasure. The fans are playing their part. The players are feeding off of that. The club are tweeting about the fans. And win, lose or draw, that's all you want. You just want us to be united together, because when we're all united and together, we will be a stronger club. We have got a chance of getting back to where we was before. But yeah, it's a great atmosphere. It's brilliant, and like I say, we just need to continue that for the remainder of the season to give those play. We need to be the 12th man and give those players a lift.
And Mem, you were watching it from your house and watching it on Sky. Did that atmosphere transmit across on TV? I know I've not managed to watch the whole game back, but like, could you hear how hyper everybody was before the game even started, as they were talking about the lineups?
Yeah, like the boys have said. I think we were up. I think we spoke as well, mate. I can't be certain because the memory's not great at the moment, but I don't know. I think a lot of people were up for it. I felt a lot of Arsenal fans fancied the game on the day, and you know, so it panned out that way. And yeah, you could sense the vibe coming off the screen, and even like, you know, Neville and the commentators are making comments about it throughout the game, and it's not something you hear that regularly about our fans inside our own stadium. I hope it continues. I hope it long continues, because as the lads have already said, the fans do need to play a part. They do have a role, and it makes such a difference. But it's twofold, isn't it? You know, you kind of like they feed off of each other, and it was great.
I totally agree, and I think if the players didn't turn up on the pitch, which we'll talk about in a minute, if they didn't turn up, the fans would have gone quieter and everything else. Just before we go into the lineups and the actual game itself, for anybody who was in the North Bank before the game, they may or would probably have seen this. There was a guy doing a beer snake with all the pint glasses and everything else, but the crowd outside block 5, 6, 7, all that whole area was just absolutely rocking. They were singing about, obviously, Tottenham getting battered, but also singing about our 2 starlets, Saka and Emil Smith Rowe. This was about an hour or so before kickoff, and it started about 10 minutes before that, 15 minutes. I got in at about 3 o'clock, and it just went on and on. I was in the stadium for the lineups when the lineups were announced. I know we talked about whether we wanted Granit Xhaka starting or not. The lineup I was actually quite pleased with, and I was disappointed to see Granit Xhaka on the lineup initially. And I'll explain that reason why. Just because I don't particularly like the player, and I also feel the player doesn't often offer an awful lot positive to our style of play, in the sense that he goes sideways and backwards. But credit to the guy, he had a fantastic game, and I also think tactically it was a very good idea to have Partey and Xhaka side by side, to have that double defensive midfield. Trev, what did you make of the lineup? And in particular, we talked about Xhaka as well. What did you make of that?
Yeah, Fergus, just before you move on, mate, just need to confirm what Tony and Mem have said there. That the support was brilliant for the Tottenham game, we know that, but it has been the standard of level of support for the Arsenal football team has been upper level all season. all season, as Tony rightly said, mate. We were at Brentford, Fergus, for the first game, and our support was powerful and strong, and I think that the two things that Mem mentioned. Well, one thing that Mem mentioned was that the media have been on the Arsenal fans' back relentlessly, needlessly, and relentlessly, and with no substance to the fact they're on our back. Apart from the fact that most of the media that are on our back are ex-players that are jealous because they would have never been good enough to play for Arsenal reserves, let alone Arsenal. And there's a lot of jealousy there towards our great club. And secondly, we were. I'm not going to dwell on it because we covered it off, but we were subjected to some vicious media reports. Our fans away at Manchester City when Manchester City scored a goal. That came from the media, and it came from sections of people that pretend to be Arsenal supporters. And I think all these things have mounted up now, and it's come to the top. And Arsenal fans like us lot are saying, balls to the lot of you. We're going to support our great club. And I think we saw that, Fergus. We saw that come to its height at the weekend. And it should continue. This is why I've come back to it, mate. We need to remember that not every game this season is going to be as exciting as us turning Tottenham over 3-1. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't go to Brighton this weekend and get a 1-1, you know. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't want it, obviously. I want us to win every game. But we've got to remember that we keep the support up there and keep these young lads on that high. Yeah? Going back to the team selection, Fergus, you and me spoke at length, didn't we? We were both singing off the same hymn sheet. I wasn't upset with any of the selections, apart from I'm not a lover of Xhaka like you. But as we're going to talk about shortly, Fergus, we've got to eat humble pie, mate, haven't we? You know, we've got to eat humble pie about Xhaka, because if we're quick enough to give our opinions on someone when we think they're not very good, we've got to eat humble pie and say he did all right, didn't he? Eh? Played exactly the game we needed. Couple of tackles that scared me a little bit when he clipped from behind, but apart from that, just what we needed, mate. Just what we needed.
Tony, what did you make of the lineup? Two defensive midfielders. Pepe was dropped, and then you had Saka on the right wing, which I think is a better position for him, and Smith Rowe out on the left with Aubameyang through the centre. I think, or was Aubameyang and Smith Rowe swapping around? I don't know.
Mate, for once, I actually called the starting 11, which is very rare. The only question marks I had in the starting 11 was... Hold it
up, son. Sorry to cut you off, Tom. Sorry, son. Yeah, that's better, mate. That's better, son.
Should Aubameyang or Lacazette start? That was the only question marks I had in the team. And the reason for that is whilst both players not necessarily have been in form, their record in the North London derby in terms of goals and assists is very, very good. So my only argument and question marks was who should start up front. As it proved, Arteta got the team spot on with everything he'd done. The players turned up. A bit like Trev just said there regarding Xhaka. I've directed some criticism towards Aubameyang, not necessarily because of his goals, but more because of his body language and attitude. And yet on Sunday, I witnessed probably his best overall game in an Arsenal shirt since he's been with us. Not in terms of goals and assists, but in terms of what he does off the ball. He put in a captain's performance Sunday, and like Trev just said there regarding Xhaka, if you're going to be big enough to criticise people, you're big enough to applaud them. And I thought, you know, Aubameyang for me, someone who I've criticised, really, really put in a shift. They all did, by the way, but obviously Aubameyang, someone that I've shown criticism because of body language and attitude, and he was sensational. Winning the header, chasing lost causes, tackling, fighting back. That is what you want to see, and if he's going to continue to do that for the rest of the season, he can keep the armband for as far as for all I care, because that was a performance he put in. But in all fairness, so did the other 10 players. So
we're going to cover off the players and the overall outstanding and, for the want of a better word, less outstanding. I don't think there was anybody performances. So just going through the game itself, the opening 10 minutes saw lots of attacking football. And I was with Dan, who was on the podcast, Dan Gunning, who was on the podcast last week, and he was with me in the North Bank, and I turned around to him and said, it was about 8-9 minutes in, and I said, we need something from this, otherwise they're just going to sit there, suck it up for 20 minutes, and then hit us on the counter. Oh, it didn't look like that in the end, but I fear that we'd have 20 minutes and then just run out of steam. But we didn't. So that opening 20 minutes... you had a lot of attacking football. Did you think that it could have just ran out of steam at that point before Smith Rowe got that first goal?
Funny you should say that, but yeah, after we got, first of all, I thought there was a lovely balance to the team, yeah, and the man's putting right-footed players in right-footed positions, left-footed players in left-footed positions. There was a lovely balance and blend to the team, I felt, yeah. And yeah, you get the first goal, you're on top. We all know the saying in football, you have to take advantage when you're on top in games, yeah, because it invariably always comes back and bites you in the arse. The boys have said it. Yeah, I don't think there was a player below like an 8 out of 10 in the entire from 1 to 11. I think we're going to touch on other players later on. I don't know how far you want me to go into it at this stage, but even Xhaka, I think we all felt the way you guys have felt. I was no different, but yeah, he performed really, really well. For me, where he's concerned, can he replicate it again next week? And can he cut out all the silly bugger mistakes? And
probably not, Mem. He's injured for 3 months.
There you go. Oh, is he injured out? Is he out for that at the moment?
Yeah, he's out now. Yeah,
I've been double busy. That could be a blessing in disguise. Who knows? We'll see. We didn't do too badly with him out of the team, did we?
No, we didn't. And I think now that we've signed players like Lokonga, and you got Odegaard who can play in that sort of position alongside Partey, I think we've got a squad that's got a little bit more depth. So we're less heavily dependent on Xhaka like we were in last season. ESR opening goal after 12 minutes, Trev, Saka's cross. We had quite a few opportunities before that. Aubameyang came close a few times. But ESR getting that first goal, and he celebrated. North London boy from Hale End. It was all his dreams come through to score against that lot.
Yeah. Do you know, Fergus, what we've forgotten to do, mate, and you and me should have spoken about this before, mate. We've been a bit naughty in that. We should have mentioned that they had a minute's respect for the great Jimmy Greaves, which was impeccably seen out by the Arsenal fans, looked after him, and it needs to be mentioned because Jimmy Greaves was a great man, a great player, regardless of who he played for. And the Arsenal fans,
and it was on the TV. It was
impeccably observed.
They did say it.
They paid him every bit of respect he was due, so that's really nice. As for the first goal, Fergus, we just spoke about the first 20 minutes before the goal. And after about 5 minutes, do you know what I thought? I stood there and I thought to myself, Tottenham look like Arsenal have been again in local derbies 2 or 3 seasons ago. And Arsenal look like we've now got a team that unlike in recent years, realises the importance of this game, right? That we absolutely ran Tottenham ragged. Tottenham weren't interested. They weren't interested. Harry Kane obviously don't want to be there, which is hilarious. And the Tottenham weren't up to the standard of our players. And our young lads shone through. And as was it Saka said in his interview, didn't he, that this is how important it is. This is why young players that have come through the ranks are so important in these fixtures when they get good enough, because Saka said that he had breakfast with Emil Smith Rowe the day before, didn't he? And they sat over breakfast and said, "Oh, boys, imagine what it'd be like to score in the North London derby. Imagine what it'd be like." This is how important it is to these young kids, and that's what drove them on. All 3 of the goals were superb attacking moves from deep in our own half. Unbelievably good moves. And when Emil Rowe scored that goal, it just released this firecracker of noise. It was noisy enough in the stadium, but by God, it went up another level. It was just fantastic to see young kids and old men and everybody just enjoying the day. But it was just to see Smith Rowe score, and then of course Saka, which we'll talk about in a minute. That move, the quickness of ball and the fleet of foot, and I don't think people are realising yet just how good Smith Rowe could be. Smith, this is massive. I'm not putting pressure on the boy. Well, I am. He will never know it because he won't see this. I'm telling you now.
Yes, he does.
Smith Rowe can be good as or better than Saka. They're both of that higher level. They're going to play off each other for years to come if we keep them. astonishingly good. The ball at his feet, when he runs under pressure with the ball at his feet, Smith Rowe, you watch him. The ball never moves more than about 6 inches from the end of his foot, and he weaves and he's gone and this pace and brilliant goal, brilliant day. I could waffle all day about it, Fergus. So I'll stop here, mate, and let someone else have a chat.
We scored the goals at the right time, didn't we, lads? We got the first one early, and then just as you're thinking, is this going to get away from us? Yeah, the second and the third followed, and we could have potentially have nicked another one, but it was a great day. I just want to, everything of that day. If they could just harness that, Trev, and just produce that, lads, week in, week out, I don't think we'd be far away at the end of the year. That's where I'm at with it now.
Mem, just don't forget, right? Hold this in your head, mate. We are a changed side, right? From the defeat at Manchester City, was it 4 weeks ago? 5 weeks or 4 games ago? From the defeat at Manchester City when we capitulated, our back five this game was a total change. It's a completely different.
We're going to get onto that. I've been holding that back about that five.
Now is Arteta's 11.
Yeah.
But just obviously pick up on what Trev was saying, obviously about Saka and Smith Rowe at the start of the Tottenham game. Something that's already been mentioned quite a few. That first tackle in the first couple of minutes from Ben White on Son sort of set the tone. And I do see the characters in this team. I know people don't want to be patient. I know people think I've been stupid for trying to remain positive all summer. But on Sunday was the first time I would properly say to myself that was Arteta's team, 100%. Because,
great.
Obviously he likes Tierney, he likes Xhaka, fine. They were signed before, but Tomiyasu, what a find he's been. Gabriel's character. I mean, 5 minutes from the end, when the fans just sensed a bit of nervousness, and all of a sudden he would turn around to every fan and he was like raising his arms as if to say, "Come on, start singing again. Get behind us. We need you." And that's what you need. You need those characters. I mean, Ramsdale is proving it's all wrong. He's a character.
Outstanding.
Tomiyasu,
personality.
they're all punching
It's called personality, T. Personality.
Someone tweeted the other day and said to Alan Smith, does it really matter? Is that thing that he, I can't remember the exact words, but does it really matter in football? And he just put, correct, it does matter. It matters everything. And it does. When you've got personnel and characters and you're pumping each other, fist pumping, tackle, yeah, exactly that, mate.
That lad has demonstrated more personality and character in the 2-3 games that I've seen him play. And I hold up my hand. I knew very little about the boy, other than he'd been relegated a few occasions with a couple of different clubs. He has demonstrated such character, personality, mate, bags of it, more than Leno's demonstrating over 3.5 seasons. And I'm not digging him out. He's a decent goalkeeper. But this kid, nah. See you, ta-da, mate.
The thing is, the players are feeding off of us, and we're feeding off the players. And that's
how it should be.
What the last 3 or 4 weeks has been. We have to continue this now for the remainder of the season.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Before we go into the break, before we go into breakdown of all the players, let's go through the first half and the goal. So the second goal was it basically started from Ramsdale, who you're talking about. Ramsdale passes to Xhaka, Xhaka passes to Tierney, who passes on to Aubameyang, who can see Smith Rowe making the run.
Ramsdale out of a hole there, boys.
He does.
Well, did he not get lucky with Holberg not controlling it properly, Tone?
No, rubbish.
I think you've got to give him credit. I know you're not all his biggest fans, but he knows what he's doing there, and he's either trying to win the foul, get the ball, and I know not people don't like him, but sometimes every now and then, men, come on, just that little bit of credit to Xhaka.
And that's what to be honest, I was giving him credit, but what I liked was and the run that Smith Rowe made. Aubameyang saw that Smith Rowe run and then passed about to Aubameyang. I thought it just looked like a classic, old school Arsenal, the Invincible-esque type goal. And I was so impressed with
that all game, though. The centre halves, the full-backs, everybody was looking to pass in between the lines. We passed the ball in between their lines and broke and turned them so many occasions. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Trev, your thoughts on that second goal?
Yeah, is it? How do you say it? Højbjerg, is it? Is it Højbjerg?
Yeah, Højbjerg. Yeah.
Højbjerg cost Tottenham that goal because he tried to do what Tottenham have done for years. He tried to do what Harry Kane does, what Son does, what Ali does. He didn't even when Xhaka leant on, just put his body onto him and turned him. Højbjerg's first thought wasn't to play the ball and play football. It was to stick a leg out from under himself and fall on the floor and pretended he'd been fouled. And Højbjerg was out of order. Højbjerg went down when he could have quite easily have played the ball. He moved his leg out of the way to stick it out to the side to make it look like he'd been fouled and dived. So Højbjerg was an arse, and he got his just desserts, because from that moment on, as you just said, Fergus, it was a classic, the Arsenal, with a capital T, the Arsenal goal. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful goal. And Xhaka did nothing wrong. He put his, he just turned him a bit. But in my view, I know the boys think differently, he didn't touch Højbjerg. Højbjerg did what Tottenham do and dived on the floor, going for the free kick. Didn't want to play football. Højbjerg didn't want to play football in that moment. He was not interested in touching that football and stopping any break Arsenal might make. The only interest in Højbjerg's head was how dramatically he could make it look to the referee when he hit the floor. And he dropped a clanger. Tough cookie. We scored a goal. Unlucky.
I've seen them given, Trev, and I think Xhaka still got lucky with it. Because he got in front of him and he didn't quite control Nigel? The ball. No, he didn't quite get the... Listen, we're talking about Granit Xhaka, yeah? And I'm just seeing it and saying it for what it actually is. The guy's going to let us down again. So I'm not trying to piss on no one's parade here. He had a really good game. Fantastic. Best I've seen him play. Let's hope he can replicate half of that again for the remainder of the season, is all I'm saying.
And I will, even though I'm a bit of a Xhaka fan or think he gets unfair criticism, I do get what you're saying, Mem. Xhaka has produced this type of performance quite a lot in terms of he will have 2 or 3 great games and then he'll have 2 or 3 really bad games. And the frustrating thing for fans on Xhaka, which I do agree with, is the consistency. Unfortunately, he sort of mirror images our team over the last couple of years. So I'm hoping potentially now with Partey fit, with more of there's more legs in the team now, so those legs can potentially cover Xhaka. Xhaka can do what he does potentially for Switzerland, and with legs around him, I'm hoping that we'll see obviously a lot less mistakes from Xhaka. But yeah, I'd rather not try and dwell on the negatives. I'm in a good mood.
I'm not being negative at all,
Arsenal women are currently beating Tottenham women 3-1, where we heard that scoreline from. So let's keep up the positives.
The back four, the back five was just the foundation and the base for everything. The right back is such an upgrade on. I liked Hector, I really did. But near the end, it was getting quite hard to watch him. The young, brilliant. This.
We did have a 12th man on the pitch, and that 12th man gave a double assist for the third goal. He spits when he talks, he dribbles when he walks, he eats with a bib. The England darling Harry Kane lost the ball on the edge of our box, and then up the other end, Saka ran at their defence and lost the ball, but thankfully that super number 12 player for us passed the ball straight into Saka's feet, and we scored the third goal. Trev, you talked about it and laughed about it, that he gave a double assist. What did you make of that goal? And then I've got a little quiz about a number 7 that we'll do before we go into the second half.
I thought it was hilarious. When we were live there at the time, I didn't quite grasp just what an involvement Kane had in our goal, and it was. I've just gone 4-1 up Arsenal, ladies. It was hilarious because he didn't do. What makes it even funnier is he didn't do anything else all day. He didn't do anything else all day. Harry Kane is doing what Mesut Ozil done to us a few years ago. He's running out on the field, probably giving 50%. You watch me eat my words now. He'll score against us next time, but. It was, but you see, when you're playing like Arsenal were, when Saka and Smith Rowe and Odegaard, we've not mentioned Odegaard, are playing that well as a 3, just behind their forward, you can't deny him a little bit of luck. Yeah, Saka was running through and Kane chipped the ball through for him, but Saka still made a wonderful finish, and they deserve, when they're playing that well, they deserve that bit of luck. Brilliant, another brilliant 3 classy bits of finishing by the Arsenal Football Club on the weekend, and
he doesn't want to be there. You can see. One of you two said earlier on about he doesn't want to be there. You know, when a player comes out in the summer and says, "Yeah, I want to leave," and then you end up keeping him.
The next time
I think that was evident in his finishing as well, because he had the header just before half time. He had a couple of chances in the second half. Harry Kane on form, Harry Kane in the right head, takes those chances, and we've seen he always punishes us. He didn't want to. I mean, the one-on-one, he was so half-hearted and like lackluster. And again, we've experienced it before with players that don't want to play for your club. They're no good to have around. I don't care how good.
No, they're not.
If they don't want to be at the club, they're no good. And we've experienced it. And when I was telling my Tottenham friends that, trust me, just sell. If he doesn't want to be there, he'll be a bad egg. No, we're different. Same with the stadium, same with Harry Kane. We've experienced it before. We're not telling them because they're our rivals. We're telling them because the fact is we have experienced it, and we've had some bad experiences from that.
Yeah,
so
it's fact.
The best thing they can do is sell him, move on. Hopefully get relegated, then liquidated, and then completely go out of business.
Guys, before we continue, I just want to put this up here. So, talking about number sevens, we have a lovely piece of artwork by Charlie Shanks, who can be followed @by_Charlie on Twitter. Charlie has offered to give this as a prize for this, as a celebration of the Tottenham game, for this episode. So what I'd like you to do in the comments, if you'd like to, or actually it's probably, in the comments, we'll pick somebody randomly out after the podcast, answer the following question. Who wore the famous number 7 shirt in our first season at the Emirates Stadium? So if you want to win a copy of this in A4, you're not allowed to enter. So if you do, just put in the comments who wore our first number 7 shirt, the number 7 shirt in our first season at the Emirates Stadium, and follow Charlie at @by_Charlie on Twitter. Guys, so let me just take that off the screen. There we go. Lovely poster, wouldn't you think?
Great.
Lovely bit of art.
Listen, before we move on from the defence, can we just have a minute talking about specifically, right? Let's not drift off it. Specifically talking about this lad, Tommy Yashu. Because what a find this boy is, eh? We need to just give him a bit of airtime, Fergus. He's worth it, mate. Wow. I don't know what you boys thought, but...
I think
Men
first
mentioned
and
it
foremost,
earlier.
we should pay our respects to Cavo at Sky Sports.
I wouldn't mention him. I hate him. I wouldn't mention him. But Tone, Ferg,
phenomenal.
What for someone that they were laughing at us for buying?
I know.
What an upgrade. He had. I mean, I know Son scored a goal, but he had him in his pocket. He didn't get a look in all game.
That was only after he come off that wing, though, weren't it, mate? You're absolutely right. He didn't get no change out of him, and he had to come off of that flank.
He actually ran off. Without mentioning, without digging him out, Saka, but he actually come off of Saka. When you watch the highlights, he goes past Saka. Saka just doesn't track the runner quick enough.
Yeah.
But Trev, Ferg, boys, men. I mean, what a signing he's been. I tweeted before when we linked with him when we signed him. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he's about. I've fallen in love. I absolutely, and I know Ferg don't like the swim. I fucking love him. I absolutely love the bloke. He's just everything you want. Wins your headers. He gives, and you know what? When he made the tackle from Ramsdale, it's just when they're punching each other. I just love it. He's falling.
Personality again,
so
mate.
Yeah, 100%.
And I've heard he doesn't talk.
We've missed it for years.
I've heard
What, your boobs?
I've heard. I've heard he doesn't talk a great deal of English, but mate, on a pitch, if you're a footballer, you play, you don't need to be able to speak the same language to know what's going on. And
he's been an unreal signing.
The spirit and the bonding between this back 4 and 5, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. You got to mention Gabriel, man. I absolutely love Gabriel. He's so committed, and not only was he trying to did you see that ball that he chased? He chased the ball out to the touchline near the halfway line with literally minutes to go. And again, there was a comment made by the commentator suggesting that you can see there's a difference in this Arsenal team. And it was very well evident on the day. Just need to do that again now against Brighton. I know it's a different club and different levels of expectations, and it's not a derby as such. But if they could just produce 80-90% of that again, mate, whoa, wow. Here we go. Here we go.
Just on Gabriel, I think he's got a lot of ingredients to become a leader. Like we've just said, and I alluded to at the towards the end of the game, he's there geeing the fans up, he's getting it, and how our results with and without him are quite frightening.
He's so committed, mate.
Well, you could see,
remember, he's only
you could
23
see.
as well. He will get better as he
I
gets
know,
older,
Tone. I know, and that's
You,
why. Oh, yeah,
you
I
two,
really,
you two need to get a room. You two need to get a room. You could see Gabriel's influence in the Burnley game, like you've pointed on Tomiyasu. I hadn't heard of Tomiyasu before he signed for Arsenal. I had heard all the stuff that went around in the media about us getting second, third dibs on him and everything else. I must admit, I even thought it might have even be, excuse my ignorance, but a slight marketing ploy. We've seen it done before when other teams, including our own in the past. But the guy has proven to be a fantastic player. He's not even played in his preferred position. He's played as a right back, and his preferred position is a centre back. But there's other players that stood out for me throughout the game. And okay, Spurs did get one back. The second half, they did turn up the screw. They made 2 substitutions. Dele Alli disappeared. Yeah, but the thing that was leading me into that, Trev, was Ramsdale's performance in that second half. The amount of fantastic saves he made. Yeah, and the disappointing thing about that goal that he did concede, he made 3 or 4 fantastic saves, almost one after the other, and the one he conceded was almost the easiest one, Trev, that he conceded. It was
point blank.
Fergie's blasted at him from about 2 yards and he's got an hand to it. Give that a break.
Point. How old is
I don't know.
Is he 23, 24 now?
He's
20.
He's lifted. What Mem said earlier about Leno's right. Leno's not a bad goalkeeper, but Ramsdale is a better goalkeeper. Not just because of his shot stopping, but just watch the defence. Watch the lift he gives the defence. And he's on top of everything. He's even telling ball boys, hey, steady on, don't you throw that ball back to me yet. We don't want that ball back yet. Ramsdale's on top of everything. And I think from looking at him, right, he's got the most important thing for a high-quality goalkeeper. He's got a bit of a screw loose, right? He's buzzing all the time. And the best goalkeepers we've ever seen have always been a bit way out. My good friend John Burridge, right? One of you boys probably don't remember John Burridge. One of the unluckiest goalkeepers ever to not play for England. Budgie, superb goalkeeper, bit of a Fruit Loop, but that's what made him the great keeper he was. And I can see a bit of that in Ramsdale. I'm so excited. I'm so excited about everyone. I'm so excited that we've got. I think, put me right, boys. I think we've got the youngest team in the Premier League now, haven't we?
We do.
I think we've got the youngest here, bro.
Yeah.
Now that is we need to be excited about that. You know,
I think the average age is something like about 25.
I'll tell you what's nice as well. Tony's mic not working properly. You can just keep talking over it.
Listen, Tony.
Tony, goodbye.
Obviously, Trev's alluded to the age. I'm hoping that people start giving. I'm not expecting them to start, singing praises of Arteta again, but hopefully now they can start seeing what the club are doing. That they brought in a lot of youngsters, and I was happy with all the signings. They've all proven to be really good signings. I still think we needed 1 or 2 more, but that's here nor there. But the players we brought in are starting to make a difference. They're young players, and they're hopefully going to be around for another few more years.
Tony, I wasn't super excited about the signings. The one that made the most impact on me was probably Ben White, because I'd seen him in the Premier League and so on. Odegaard, I wasn't hugely impressed with on his loan spell, but he looks such a better player as a permanent fixture in the squad. Just Steve has said a poor form about me saying that comment about Ramsdale. I was really looking. He had such a great performance. It was just that just seemed like the easier of all the fantastic saves he made. So that was all. Stop, Trev. I'm not digging it. I was trying to compliment the guy overall.
The save he made from Moura.
Anyone that's ever played in goal will tell you. He's already alluded to it, Ramsdale, that unfortunately when you take one step and put your weight on the wrong foot, because he's already said he should have saved it, but unfortunately because he puts his weight on the wrong foot, he didn't lose his balance. He loses balance because
the save he made from Lucas Moura, the one that looped, that he got his fingertips to, I thought that was a worldie. Okay, And what you just said, Tony, I asked a little bit earlier on, how old is the lad? 23, 24, yeah? Because I think in a couple of years' time, he saves that point blank shot. Because that's how I believe he's going to progress and improve, in my opinion, anyway. Yeah, I think he's top, man. He's such an upgrade on Leno. He's as much of an upgrade on Leno as Tommy Asu is on Hector Bellerin. It's very exciting times.
Aubameyang looked like he was up for it, which was really good, and we haven't seen him up for a game like that in a long time. Overall, we all agree that there was outstanding performances by everybody on the pitch. I found it hard to pick a man of the match. I'd probably give it to Smith Rowe because he scored a goal and that great assist to the Aubameyang goal. You could easily give it to Ramsdale. Who would you say was your man of the match? First of all, Mem, then Tony, hold your microphone up. That's what we're going to have to call him from now on. And then Trev.
You're right. I think everybody played really, really well. Ubba was magnificent. But for the first 20, 25 minutes, I thought young Emil Smith-Rowe, I thought he was electric and aided by Saka. So for me, just for the first 20, 25 minutes, he was electric. They couldn't handle him. So, yeah, Smith-Rowe all day long. Very, very closely followed by young Bukayo, who was excellent also.
Tony, your man of the match?
If I'm honest, I can't really call one because every player played their part. Odegaard did not stop running, and I know people have said, I'm one of them who said he ain't good enough. Ozil couldn't have done what Odegaard done on Sunday and run around for 90 minutes, pressing, tracking back, tackling. Aubameyang pulled off something. He was winning headers, tackles. He was holding the ball up. I can't pick a man in the match because they're all brilliant in each.
If I was to force you to pick one,
collective, I think the fans.
Fair shout.
Good shout.
Fair shout. Not Harry Kane for his double assist.
At least you got his name right.
Good comeback. Trev.
We've took the mickey now, right? That word is now banned for the rest of this podcast. No one is allowed to say his name, yeah? We're done with it. Done with it.
What, Fergus?
Yeah. When it comes to man of the match, it is hard to judge it because we've almost been through the whole team. We've not mentioned. I thought Thomas Partey probably had his best game in an Arsenal shirt, right? He looked a class act on the ball. I'll tell you what Thomas Partey looked. He looked fit. And I don't think we've seen a fully fit Partey for, in our side. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. In my view, we haven't. And I thought that Thomas Partey played a massive part in the game. I thought that Tierney was bombing up and down the wing in the first half a lot more than we've seen him recently. And not only was he bombing up and down the wing, as Tony just rightly said, he had Aubameyang running his socks off in front of him, giving him targets. Yeah. So we've not mentioned Tierney, although I did notice in the second half, I think that from what I could watching, Arteta was holding Tierney back from making too many runs up and down the wing in the second half. I think he thought, I'm just going to keep Tierney under wraps a bit. I don't know. That's my view anyway, because he didn't bomb forward anywhere near as much second half. But, you've got Partey played really well. Tierney played fantastically well as well. And I think that's just about the whole team, isn't it? I mean, Aubameyang, the set pieces now, if we get a corner or a free kick now, whereas like as little as half a dozen games ago, you were thinking, why are they putting it in the box? We've got no one to get on the end of it. Now you've got Tommy Yasu, you've got White, you've got Partey, you've got, Gabriel. You've got some big lads in there. We are a completely different picture from top to bottom, 1 to 11. We're a totally different proposition from that short time ago. And that is because, as you boys rightly said, Arteta has started to get his team on the field, right? His team on the field. He's not been able to do that. But if you pushed me, Fergus, to name a man of the match, I would go for Tommy Yasu, only because it's only his third game. And what a class act. What a class act.
You couldn't argue. They all you couldn't really. You could make an argument for any of the 11. To be fair, I think the key going forward is hopefully to just keep them fit and healthy. Yeah, because this is Tony said it. This is our best 11. I think this is our best 11. Yeah.
Mem, you alluded to it earlier about the back five. So now's
Yeah.
your opportunity to expand on that back
I think
five.
it's absolutely
Because
key
I
and
want to finish up on
fundamental.
this game and go to the Brighton game there afterwards. But
I
go
think
on.
it's absolutely key and fundamental that we keep this back four together. Yeah. Um, you can see they're playing for each other. We've got a wonderfully gifted left back who just loves getting forward, and Tommy Asu just brings a nice balance to it because he does get forward, but he doesn't get forward quite as often as regularly as what KT does, and I think Ramsdale behind him, Ferg, like the lads have said, he just breeds confidence around his defenders. The communication between them is fantastic.
They
You
complement
know,
each other, don't they?
so well, mate. The balance is what I said earlier on. You know, he's got a left-footed centre half in the left-footed centre back's berth. He's not been able to do that since he's been at the club, and even this season, even the first game of the season. You know, when this is the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's been able to select the team. You know, in his vision. But I honestly think that the back five is key and fundamental. It allows everybody else to play, and if we can keep that back five fit from now until the end of the season, I'm so excited. I'm so excited about him.
Let me come in here first.
So young as well.
What Mem says is very important and exactly right. But we talk about keeping the back five and the players fit. But what we've got, and I want to be in Europe. I want Arsenal to play in Europe. I miss it badly. But come January, February, March next year, all of our main rivals are going to be been playing in Europe every week. They're going to be playing hard games, and they're going to start to tire. We've not got that this year. We haven't got really the excuse of our players getting tired because they are going to get plenty of weeks off, and it could play a massive part at the end of the season. Hey, up Fergus has gone.
Oh yeah, cool.
He's back. So I think that come January, February, March next year, after a hard season, us not being in Europe may well work in our favour.
We've still got to just keep perspective of the whole season as well. For me, I don't think as great as Sunday was, and as you know, we've gone on a little bit of a winning run, and whatever happens on Saturday happens on Saturday. But for me, at the start of the season was we get as close, or we finish fifth and possibly win a League Cup, but get as close to the top four as possible. I think Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea have sewn up top four. Man United, the only way Man United won't make the top four this season is because of Solskjaer. But we've got to keep everything in perspective and think, do you know what? We've got to progress little by little. We can't, run before we can walk. We've had a couple of bad years. Arteta's now starting to put his stamp on it. If we was to get fifth and say win the League Cup, for me, that's a positive season. That's a good season. And then next season we can really kick on and challenge for top four and obviously build further.
Agreed. To be honest, I think top four is probably a push that bit too far at this moment in time, especially from where we are at the moment and how we're building. I think the only berth in the top four that is available is what you alluded to, Tony, which is the Man United slot that they've got at the minute, because their squad looks a little bit disjointed and their manager's he's getting an awful lot of leeway because of who he is and because of Fergie in the background and so on, and he's doing what he's doing. So I think if anybody is to drop out of that top four as the given, it would be Man United. But then you've got Leicester, you've got West Ham, you've got Villa, who are doing very, very well. You've got Everton. There's an awful lot of other teams that could possibly scrape into that sort of area, and we're competing with all of those for that fifth, sixth sort of position. I wouldn't want it up seventh and into the Europa Conference. We do have to bear in mind that in January the African Nations Cup is on, and as Dan says, we could lose Partey, Aubameyang, Pepe, all to the African Nations Cup in January. So that could possibly hinder that advantage that Trevor mentioned about not having European football. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where we go. Listen, finally on the Tottenham game, Nuno Santos was heavily linked to Arsenal as a replacement for Unai Emery. And he was quite high up in the odds and everything else. And I actually thought he probably would get the position. I know his representatives were at Highbury House and discussed possibly him taking a position at Arsenal. Did we dodge a bullet? a bullet, Trev?
No, we just didn't employ him because he weren't good enough for the Arsenal. You know, it shows his standard. He went to Tottenham. I don't think we dodged a bullet. We probably had a proper system in place to weed out the weak managers, and we weeded out a weak manager and let that lot up the road, Abby. Yeah, well, you know, I don't think it's just so much the manager when it comes to that lot. They're just a club that, you know, we're hard on them, aren't we? But we've got a right to be hard on them. They're just a club that can't win things. They're not good enough. They've built a big new stadium and think it makes them a big club, and they're not. And they've got a manager that probably meets their standards.
I also think they've got a squad that hasn't been rejuvenated like what Wenger did over the years and Fergie and so on. They brought in one or two players every year. They haven't.
Done and haven't done.
No. Listen, just yeah. Well, if you buy a microphone, you can have an opinion. Listen, the atmosphere around the stadium, we talked about it before the game, we talked about half time, we talked about throughout the game. After the game, we always meet up around block 9-10. There's the bar there, and just have a debrief on what we thought of the game. And if you're having a beer, and then gone off to a pub. About an hour after the game, outside the Tony Adams statue, this is still going on. This is an hour after. This is about a half hour after the game finished, and it carried on even longer and longer as the light was fading. There was smoke, bombs, all sorts going up. We don't see an atmosphere like that at the Emirates Stadium very often, do we?
How comes the AFT boys don't be posting that sort of stuff? And what will the AFT boys have to moan about, mate, if we actually start consistently winning and improving? What's going to happen to all of them lads on that? I don't ever watch it. I don't know hardly any of the characters, but I only get from what I hear from you boys. So what are they going to do with themselves, man?
Don't touch that today, Mem, son.
All I'm saying is what are they going to do with themselves?
No need. I'll tell you the best thing about our celebration. Not only was it an hour after the game, but none of them people were stupid enough to chuck a pint up in the air and ruin me Stone Island. Not one pint went up in the air, right? Because I was getting all that chucking beer around. Don't pay £6 for a pint of beer and chuck it in the air. Pay £6 for a pint of beer and give it to me if you want, but don't chuck it up in the air, right? It was brilliant after the game. The atmosphere and the feeling of euphoria. It was euphoria. It was wonderful. It was a great day, and we've got to keep it up. We've got to keep it up. And it's most important, as I said earlier, if the team's not having the best of days, and as we now know, get behind them and lift them. Tony said it earlier. Lift them. Lift the team. You know? It's not just about days like the weekend. It's brilliant. And we want that support all the time. And we can do it, you know.
You see it at lower league. You go to a lot of lower league football because you enjoy your football so much, Trev, and you see it at teams that are, not doing so well, and they got their hardcore fans that will sit there and sing and applaud their team the whole way through, and that's what it should be. And we talked about, and I think it was yourself, Trev, that mentioned, and we have talked about it ourselves, with a lot of season ticket holders, for whatever reason, either maybe due to money, COVID, are just having enough of the Emirates. They've given their season tickets up, either temporarily or permanently, and other people have been able to buy those season tickets. The club have actually tried to make sure they fill the seats, giving people who are on the waiting list an opportunity to have a season ticket for a year, and then have a priority option of buying a season ticket the following year, which would be theirs for life, or as long as they renewed it. And between that, the lack of tourists, the Norwich game was a huge example. The noise for the Norwich game was huge, and that's Norwich, for Christ's sake. It's the Spurs game, I understand it getting loud. The first game of the season, Chelsea, it's been great. So let's keep it up. We got Brighton away, and myself and Trevor were talking earlier today, and he said it's a pity I can't make Brighton away. I've got family commitments which I can't do the Brighton away, but I'm expecting the atmosphere to be really, 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 really good. Who do we have to worry about there? Because they were kept off the top only by a draw against Palace on Monday night. Their top goal scorers, Mopay, yeah. You got Basuma, who was He's not one of our players, so it doesn't matter. Said Basuma with top interceptions and top tackles. You got Dunk, which is the top passer, and then you got Shane Duffy, who's their second top passer and top for goals, in the top for goals, clearances, aerial battles, and passes. They've got a decent spine of a team. What are you moaning about?
It don't matter because we've got Saka and Emil Smith Rowe. And I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it, I like. Saka and Emil Smith
You were saying, Trev?
I don't care. Fergus, you see, this is what the support's all about, right? We don't care about Brighton. I know that the support of Brighton from the Arsenal fans on the weekend is going to be absolutely superb. I know already. I know that. I don't care about Brighton. I don't care what they do. I don't care what they bring, because I know that after the recent performances that Brighton can bring their best, and as long as we're on our toes, we'll beat them, because we really have played that well. You know, so I don't care about Brighton. You bring who they want. And just Malpay, though. Malpay, I don't like you. And if you score and come over to the away fans like you do, giving it Billy big balls, just stand back a little bit. Because if you get within about 2 foot, I'm dragging you in the crowd. That's it. I'm dragging you in the crowd, Malpay, and we're having our way with you. So if you score a goal, just keep your distance, son. I don't like it. But it don't matter about Brighton. Honestly, mate, seriously, I don't give one flying toss about Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club this weekend. I'm not even going to look at their team. I'm not worried because I'm in a position at the moment where I'm going to support the Arsenal. I've got to support the Arsenal. And if we play to the best of our abilities with our team, it won't matter. Brighton can put who they want out. We'll beat them. There.
Terry agrees with you. Are you going to predict the score then for the Brighton game then? You did mention 1-1 earlier.
No. Did I mention 1-1? You might have to rewind.
You mentioned it could be 1-1, but you didn't say that was your prediction.
I said it could be a draw. You know, but the fact I was making there was that if it's a draw, then it's a draw. We still get behind the team. I'm just talking overtone now because you can't hear him anyway. I think we're going to win comfortably at Brighton. I think we're going to probably win about 3-0.
Tony, first of all, we're starting a crowdfunding for you to see if we can have a whip round to see if we can buy you a decent microphone. So yeah, even our listeners are. Do you want to unmute yourself first?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening, mate. All my mics seem to have broken, and I don't know. But look,
I'll send you a link. They're only about 16 quid.
All right, mate. It's my birthday next week. Send us one.
Yeah.
It's not, but I'll have one. Look, we just got to go to Brighton on Saturday. We've got to respect them, respect that they're a hard-working side. They're a together side, but we've got to turn up and do our job. As we say all the time, it's about what Arsenal turns up. If the Arsenal of the first 3 games turn up, we ain't getting a point there. But if the Arsenal of the last 3 or 4 weeks turn up, we're going to go there and for me, we're going to win sort of 2-0, 3-1. But it all depends on, we've got to continue, we've got to build this momentum, continue this winning run, because going into the international break, completely turning our season on its head, could only stand us in good stead, And there's no fixtures in the Premier League that are easy anymore, but our run up in the next few weeks is favourable. And then we go into the winter period, so we need to make sure that we go into the international break in good spirits, the momentum's still intact, and then hopefully we can build on that after the international break.
And what score are you going from them?
I'm not sure. I think we win because I'm with Trevor, and it is about momentum and keeping it up and keeping the key players in our team fit. Because I don't think we got fantastic backup in the squad, not yet anyway. But I think we win because the momentum is really good with the team at the moment. They're really on an upper, and won't you feel cheated if they don't go out there and put on that kind of a performance again? They've proved they can do it. Just go out there and play like they played last weekend. and everything will just fall into place. I think we win 2-1. Brighton are a good team. They've got a good manager. They know what they're doing. Yeah, they're no mugs.
I will take a boring game of average football as long as we win 1-0. And to be honest, I think it'll be a 2-0 win as long as we've got Ramsdale in goal. I think he'll keep a clean sheet. After that, we again got Palace, Villa, and Leicester away. Palace and Villa at home on the Monday and the Friday, which we've talked about before, and then Leicester away. And that's us 10 games in. At that point, we can sit back and assess, I think, Arteta and assess the team and the signings and everything else after the Leicester game, and I don't think before that. Guys, the competition, just in case anybody wants to get in again, follow Charlie Shanks at art_Charlie.
Who's picking the winner,
A random computer is going to do it. I'm going to get a thing on the internet, and I've got a number by everybody who has entered to win this. And just a last chance before we press the end button. If anybody hasn't entered, the question was, who was the first to wear the number 7 shirt in our first season at the Emirates Stadium? So if you put your answer, if you haven't already, in the comments before we finish tonight,
Make sure you check your answers.
Put your answers in the chat, and then we'll go from there. Boys, it's been really good. Thanks very much.
Not finished.
Of course he's not.
Of course he's not. Ferg, go on.
Because Tony just made a massively important point there. He said that if the Arsenal of the first 3 games of the season turn up, we couldn't beat Brighton. And Tony's exactly right. We wouldn't get close to Brighton. But I'm just going to put another context on it. We won't be like the first 3 games of the season because our back 5 is completely different. We are a different team. And I hope I'm right, and I hope we win. Fergus,
you are right, mate.
Listen, mate. Something that made me laugh, right? Match of the day 2. I don't know if you saw Match of the day 2 after the game on Sunday. They put up this cringe-worthy, sort of comedy start where it used to be a big 6, and now Man United, Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea are pulling away from Tottenham and Arsenal. And I can't leave it because, right, there's no doubt that them 4 have pulled away from Arsenal over recent seasons. If you don't hold your hands up to that, you're stupid because there's no fact. But what really bugs me is they keep grouping us in with that lot from up the road, right? And it's wrong, right? We've won 14 FA Cups. They're still in single figures. We've won 13 league titles. They've won 2. The last one nearly 60 years ago. We've won 49 games unbeaten. We've gone seasons unbeaten. We shouldn't be linked with that lot up the road. We're miles ahead. And it really bugs me. We are a better football club than Tottenham Hotspur have ever been or ever will be. All you media people, stop clumping us with them. Stop it. We're better.
Do you not think it's more frustrating, Trev, that when Chelsea and Liverpool or even United had dropped out, there was no mention of, it was always the big 6. And this comes again where the media hate us. I don't think they've hated us for years, and they always will. Because when those teams were outside that top 4 and we was getting mocked for being in the top 4. Now all of a sudden it's a big achievement again. We will always be mocked and ridiculed by the media. But you know what? Like all the others said, stick your fingers up. We're the Arsenal, and this is what's making us strong, or hopefully stronger this season. Our togetherness.
Exactly.
A united front together as one, sticking our fingers up to the rest of the world. We are the Arsenal.
Yeah.
Trev, say stop, and I've got a random number generator going on here, and this is the person who's going to win it. So say stop.
Arnie, put that comment from Arnie up there. Put that comment from Arnie up at the bottom. Arnie, I don't know if you're mucking about there, son. I don't know if you're being jovial, right? You see, but it's not only Tottenham, Arnie. If you don't grasp what the North London derby means, mate, don't put it up there, son. It's massive. It's not about only Tottenham. It's about a much bigger picture, mate. It's about history. This is the one game of the year, Arnie, mate. It was a massive win. Sorry, Fergus. Go.
Pick a number. Tell me when to stop.
Stop, not go.
Stop.
Mr. Andy Fink, number 2 on the list. Andy, you've won that lovely picture by Charlie. There we go. I will get in touch with Charlie and put you in touch with him, and we can organise getting that to you. But do make sure you get onto Twitter and follow Charlie at artby_Charlie. Right.
Quality
let me
pieces
just
of work he does. Quality.
That is class, mate.
Yeah.
That is so nice. That is so good.
In fairness, I can show you some of his other work before we finish off. So there we go. Here's some of his other bits and pieces that he's got on here. He's got boxes in there. He's got Captain Tom. There was a lovely picture of the stands, some lovely stuff. We're very fortunate that there's a few people out there that can do this sort of stuff. The Guns and Yellow Ribbons. We'll have to commission a Guns and Yellow Ribbons one, or he might even want to do one for us. Charlie, I hope you're listening. We've also got there's quite a few out there that do stuff like this. We had Ruth, who put some stuff up before for us, and there's some other artists on our group. And don't mean piss artists.
Put Arnie's last comment up.
All right, here we go. Is that last comment?
Yeah. Arnie, I'm sorry if I upset you, son. It's nothing personal, mate. It's just that when it's the North London derby, my passions go off the scale, mate. Don't take it personally. It's just me and my. If you dislike, I could think of something worse to put, but my dislike of Tottenham. It doesn't matter what it's all about. That game to me comes close to my heart. That's if I ever meet up with you, I'll tell the story of why, mate. But being North London born and bred, it's something that's deep inside me. My passion for this North London derby, mate. So don't take it personal, Arnie. Could have been anyone there, mate. And if you
Trev
did,
just gets upset because he's one of the few people that was around when Tottenham last won the league.
Well, do you know what? I wasn't. I missed it by a year, Tone. Gutted. Missed it by a year. They won it in
and that just actually shows you how long ago it is. Look how old is he? Look. He wasn't even born when Tottenham won the league last.
Look at the form on him, though, still. Look at the form on him, though. Look at that.
Oh, dear.
49, he's 49, and I'm looking at
He's so vain.
Sorry, did you say 49?
Undefeated.
You ain't 49.
How do you know I'm not
younger than me?
49?
Oh, if you're 49, you've had an up and downhill paper round.
Oh, listen.
Boys, on that note, thank you very much for joining us.
Just going to talk over his mic all now. Tone off your mic.
Tony, get yourself a decent microphone, because you have some really good valid points, and it's really hard sometimes to jump in with it. So, yeah.
Everywhere they go.
Ben, thank you very much for joining us.
I've got to just tell you this story before I go. And
get battered everywhere they go.
On Sunday, obviously, I went up early with the boys. So Missy said, you know what, I'm going to take the kids to the old Toby Carvery. She can't be bothered to cook. So both my son and daughter are in Arsenal shirts. So I get a text after the game from my missus and that to say, Harper's had a couple of rows. I said, what do you mean? She said, there was one boy in the queue that had a Tottenham shirt on. She kept just like mocking him and all that, to the point that the dad had to come up and have a chat with my missus. He was as good as gold, by the way, and no problem. But then, because she was watching it with my stepdaughter on the phone, we went 2-0 up, and there was another girl in the corner. She had a Tottenham like T-shirt. It was like glittery or sparkly. She just kept looking over and kissing the badge, going 2-0, 2-0. I've proper ingrained Arsenal in her. But
how old is she?
It was hilarious. She's only 5.
Oh, wow.
Toby Carvery offering Tottenham fans out. But brilliant. It made my day coming home and that, and I just thought, I'm such a proud dad.
Boys, Trev, as always, thanks very much. You have been watching Guns and Yellow. It's alcohol-free. Can you believe it? It's alcohol-free beer.
And he's mocking Harry Kane for struggling to speak.
It feels like Harry Kane, Fergus Keating, he talks like Harry Kane.
No. You have been watching the Guns and Yellow Ribbons podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. If you like what we do, click on the subscribe button on YouTube or Facebook and tell your mates about it. Listen, we do it for fun. As you can see, generally taking the mick out of each other. It's a genuine, true fans podcast. Thanks very much, everyone. And remember... Tottenham get battered everywhere they go.
Tottenham get battered everywhere they go.
Everywhere they go.
You've been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons and Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too.